Do I have a college degree? Is another question that comes up all the time. So this used to actually embarrass me, right? I used to People say, "Oh, did you go to college?" I'd say, "Oh, well, I took 2 semesters in college." And the only thing I had going for me was that I did have a 4.0 when I was in college, right? Because I didn't go to college right away. I finished homeschooling and I jumped right into work. I dove right into, actually, I've been working since I was 12 years old, so I'd always been working, but it was working little retail jobs. And then at 21 or yeah, 21, I got a really hard labor job, but at 18, I started working at Walmart, and I thought I was the man because within 6 months, I was a manager, a department manager, and within another 6 months, I was a department manager of a different department, and I was, really doing really well at $10 an hour, which was fine because I was able to buy a truck and I was happy and I was living life just working hard, thinking I was saving money, and I was saving money. I was doing pretty good until I bought that truck, and it kind of stopped my bank account from going up. So after a year of seeing my bank account at $38, I said, I got to do something. And I went to another job where I was making $18 an hour, but it was a sweatshop. It was just hard labor, third shift, physical labor, working in a bakery. It was like 100 degrees every single day, and in the summer it was like 120. But I learned hard work. I learned, dedication. There was overtime like crazy, and I discovered that I don't like this. I do not like hard work. I do not like physical labor. Because it wasn't creative. It wasn't me being able to be my authentic self. So my girlfriend at the time, she said, "Hey, you know what? If you don't like that, why don't you go to college? Why don't you get a degree?" So I started going for I was going for business management. I was going for marketing, and I ended up getting a job in accounting. So, and that was up in Boston. That was an hour away. I was driving every day for 4 years. I did that job. But so I didn't get the degree. But what I did do was get enough education to get me into a job, right? And I learned management. I took a couple courses in accounting. I took a couple courses in marketing, and those were the pieces that I still use. Those pieces today. I still use Excel. I still use marketing. I still use business management, and those were key classes. It wasn't about getting the degree to me. It was about how do I get what I need to build a business, because I always knew I was going to business owner. I always knew that owning a business was my goal. So no to the college degree. It doesn't bother me now. Now I say, you know what? If you don't have one, good. You're in the same spot as me. You can succeed because you don't have a degree and you haven't gotten all that bad programming of just study, 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 and do nothing with it. So what did you do before this? I think I kind of preluded into that. But before this, I was working in retail, and then I worked physical labor, and I worked as a financial, what was I? I was a billing representative for a computer company up in Boston. And then I worked for Johnson & Johnson for a short time. I started figuring out if I jumped companies, they'd give me a pay raise. I would be doing less work, but because I had a different title at that company, I could shift my resume and put in a different title, and I'd be able to get paid more. So I started doing that. I said, okay, this company's willing to pay me this at this title. So here I'm a billing representative, but now in Johnson & Johnson, I'm a sales representative. Boom, that jumped me up. And then I slid over to Coca-Cola as a planning analyst, and that jumped me up. And then Johnson & Johnson called me back. They wanted an administrative assistant for the vice presidents of sales. So I went back to Johnson & Johnson, and that was kind of my career. I was a planning analyst. I would sit down, look at spreadsheets, see what needed to be done, and then go and get the machines to run it. And then for a little while, in my last role, I was a administrative assistant to vice presidents. I booked their flights and little things like pay their Amex cards and little stuff like that. And I just realized I really, really, really hate doing this. Like, I actually hate helping people do the tedious stuff that I wish I had somebody else to do for me. So now, like, I'm looking for an assistant to do all this stuff for me because I just hate it. I honestly hate it. And I was literally doing it for a job. I was doing it for other people. I didn't even like to do it for myself. So that was what triggered me getting out of real estate. I was making $70,000 a year. My expenses were well under that. I probably spent $30,000 a year. Maybe there was like $2,000 a month that I really lived off of, and I was just having this exorbitant amount of money. I did not need it. So I was always a $40,000 person, and then suddenly I started making all this money, and I started buying real estate because that made sense to me at the time. I said, I'm going to replace my funds with real estate.